Okay, my East Auburn friends, here's some more of Inkling. This is Chapter 10. Dad is such an idiot, Ethan said to Inkling. With a sigh, he lifted his marker off the illustration board. He couldn't concentrate on his drawing. Suddenly he was telling Inkling everything. How worried he was about Dad, and how angry, how tired he was of always being the one to play with Sarah. He even talked about how things were so much better when Mom was alive, and how he missed her. Inkling was still for a moment, as if he was mulling things over. And then he wrote, "He has sad dreams." "How do you know that?" "I see them." You can't see people's dreams, but even as Ethan said it, he thought, why not? Inkling was like some piece of Dad come loose, a bit of his imagination running around all over the place like a stray dog. "I only see his dreams, not anyone else's. I drew a picture." Inkling darted underneath the bed, and Ethan got down on his belly and peered into the mess of newspapers and ancient forgotten stuff. "Inkling?" A long, inky line slithered out to him, and he followed it with his hand, sifting through papers until he saw what Inkling was making a thumbs-up sign on a particular piece of newsprint. He pulled it out. It was blank on one side, but when he turned it over, he saw a picture of a woman in a hospital room. He could tell it was a hospital room by the equipment on the walls and the railings around the bed, but it looked to him a few seconds to recognize the woman. "Is that Mom?" he said softly. "Yes." Ethan felt like a fist had clenched inside his chest. Mom's face was puffy, and her long curly hair was limp. There was tubes in her nostrils and tape on her arms. He'd never seen her like this. When she got really sick, Dad said she hadn't wanted him or Sarah to visit her in the hospital. She didn't look like herself, Dad explained, and she didn't want him and Sarah to be upset. Maybe when she felt a little better, but there hadn't been a better. Ethan had never had a chance to say goodbye to her. Furious, he crumpled up the paper with Inkling inside and hurled it across the room. He didn't want to remember Mom like this. She didn't look like she was supposed to. She looked sick and ugly. And from the crumpled paper, Inkling emerged and glided across the floor towards him. "Why did you show me this?" "This is what he dreams." "Big deal. Of course he misses her. We all miss her. But he's just got to, get over it. He's a grown-up. He can't just stay in bed all day. He is stuck." "Well, he better get unstuck," muttered Ethan. "There is something he needs." "Yeah, Mom back. But that's impossible," he sighed. "What he needs is to get unblocked." "Unblocked?" "Yeah. He can't come up with a new story. I looked in his sketchbook yesterday, and he hasn't done anything since," he hadn't realized until now, "since you jumped out." On the floor, Inkling seemed to be shriveled up a bit. No, it's not like it's your fault," Ethan said. "He was blocked way before you came. But it's like you definitely are part of him. He made you with his ink, with his inspiration, and..." He thought for a moment. "Do you think you could help him?" "There is something," Inkling began to write, but Ethan interrupted. "Do you think you could draw a new graphic novel for him?" Inkling seemed to consider this. "Like what we're doing?" "Yeah, sort of." "What is the story?" Ethan hadn't thought that far ahead. "Well, I don't know. Can you just make one up?" Inkling swayed back and forth thoughtfully. "Can it be the story told well and truly of a man who catches a great fish?" "Well, no. That would be too much like The Old Man and the Sea." "Or a story of an orphan girl who goes to live on a farm with Prince Edward Island?" "No." "Or a tale of a girl snatched by a giant?" "Inkling, it has to be an original story, and I can't not do it." Ethan blinked in surprise. "Why not?" "I just draw. I need a story." Ethan thought about this. It was true. They'd been giving Inkling the story about the gorilla. He'd read Soren's script, then used Ethan's stick figures as a guide to make the drawings. "Well," he said, "how about if we feed you more books? As many as you like, especially Dad's. All the best ones. Just so you can get a sense of the way he writes. I mean, maybe you know that already. Wouldn't that be enough? And then you could just sort of mix them all together, sort of like Sarah does when she makes up her own stories." "I will try. I might fail, but a man who does not try can never truly be a man." Ethan figured Inkling would stop talking like Ernest Hemingway as soon as he read some other stories. "And look," he said, "I'm not asking you to do the whole thing. Maybe just start Dad off with one big double-page spread, and that'll be enough to unblock him." "Yes." "Come on, let's have a look." He put out his hand, and Inkling flowed onto it, giving him the cool, fluttery feeling. It was like a spring breeze. It was like something waiting to happen. And in the hallway, Ethan paused and listened to make sure his father was still in the kitchen. He smelled coffee and felt comfortable. And when he crossed the threshold of Dad's studio, His wrist suddenly prickled with goose flesh. He looked down and saw Inkling trembling. "What's wrong?" "This room frightens me," Inkling wrote on his arm. "Why?" "I fear the sketchbook." Ethan frowned, and then remembered how he once threatened to put Inkling back inside. "Oh, I was just kidding, Inkling. It's only a book. Paper, you love paper." Inkling stopped shaking. Yes, a man must face his fear. That is what a man does. There were several bookcases in his father's studio. The one closest to his drafting table was where he kept his favorite books. Plenty were ones that Ethan had read and loved: graphic novels, comics, science fiction, epics, and historical adventure stories. He made a small pile on Dad's drafting table and opened the cover to the first book, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. "Dad always said this was a really good one. Maybe we should start." Inkling slid right onto the title page, eagerly slurping up the title, the author's name, and the illustration, and all the little boring bits at the bottom. "I didn't mean right now," Ethan whispered, looking over his shoulder nervously. Impatiently, Inkling poured himself between the pages and disappeared. It suddenly occurred to Ethan that his plan involved completely erasing Dad's favorite books. Some of them were really nice hardbacks, and he sighed. He'd worried about it later. Maybe he could buy new ones with his allowance. He was about to lift the pile of books back to the room when he saw Dad's sketchbook at the far end of the table. He'd checked it yesterday morning, and he knew he wouldn't find any new sketches now, but he couldn't help himself. He opened it up and turned the pages. The sketches stopped at the same place as last time. From the corner of his eye, he saw 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea bleeding ink. He frowned. A thin black ribbon oozed from the stack of books onto the drafting table. "Inkling," he whispered, "what are you doing?" Inkling was snaking very slowly across the table. He twitched and started to write while in motion, but the letters just got smeared before he could finish a word. From outside the studio, Ethan heard his father coming down the hallway. "Inkling," he whispered, "come on, we gotta go." He laid his hand on the table, but Inkling just flowed right over it, heading in the direction of Dad's open sketchbook. "No," Ethan gasped, suddenly understanding. The sketchbook was dragging Inkling towards it. It had dragged Inkling right out of the novel, and Inkling was fighting against the pull, but losing. Ethan tried to grab hold of him, digging in with his fingers, and Inkling seeped right through, flowing faster now. And when Inkling touched the binding of the sketchbook, he jerked back as if it burned. "Ethan, you in there?" Dad called out, steps away from the door. Ethan slammed the sketchbook shut. At that exact moment, Inkling gave a great shudder and pulled himself clear. Ethan turned to face his father as he walked in. "I was just looking for something to read," he said, picking up 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. He caught a flash of Inkling disappearing among the pages. "Mind if I borrow this?" "Be my guest. It's a good one. Hey, sorry I slept so late. That party kind of took it out of me." His dad really did look apologetic. "It wasn't so bad," Ethan lied. He felt like Dad wanted to say something more, but Ethan was worried about Inkling and wanted to check on him. So he grabbed the pile of books and hurried back to the room. Inside the novel, Inkling slowly rocked himself back and forth on a half-eaten page. "Are you okay? What happened?" "The sketchbook wants me back." "I don't get it. No other books do that to you. It's the paper I came from." Ethan nodded. He felt so stupid. In their first meeting, Inkling had even shown him how hard it was to pull free of the book. There was a good reason he'd been so scared when they entered the studio. "What would happen," he asked, "if it sucked you in?" "I would be fixed. I'd be nothing more than ink." "I'm really sorry, Inkling. I should have known. It won't happen again. I promise." Oh boy, Inkling is sure scared of that sketchbook. Here's my question for you this week. What do you think about that? If the sketchbook really does suck Inkling in, will he be gone forever? Will he be trapped in the sketchbook? Or will he be able to go in and out like he pleases? I don't know. Tell me what you think. Bye-bye for now.